like, just go for a ride.
That's it. Feel it. Feel it. Yeah.
Feel it.
It's
Exactly.
that's why I love hardware. Like the fact that you can move around and then like have this feeling, this sensation. There's nothing. There's
Do you
nothing.
ride? Have you been on bikes?
I do ride, but you know.
The next
yeah.
time we'll have to take it out for a spin.
For sure. That would be.
Once it's ready.
Yeah. Ready? Okay. Taras, pleasure to meet you.
What's up?
Nice to meet
Good
you
to
too.
meet you.
Good to meet you too. It's been actually it's the first time that we met in person,
Yes.
and I appreciate the fact that you take the time to sit down together and then
Thanks for
share
coming.
about appreciate it. Share about your story about building hardware. So the idea of these session is nothing about fancy business or all of the I like to say the pitch deck that we do outside for fundraising. We want to go deep in and know how you first of all got this idea. Where did you get that passion of building hardware?
I think it's, building hardware. I think I didn't even have a concept of what hardware was or building the hardware, what it meant.
Yeah.
But I've always had a fascination with building things. So I grew up in Sweden, and I was in my house basement,
Okay.
always tinkering and building things.
Okay.
There was something with tools, like availability of tools.
Yep.
I'm like, I got to put them to use somehow. So I did some stuff out of wood, and then I got an RC car when I was, I think, 11.
Oh.
And it was a small internal combustion RC car with a tiny little engine.
Okay.
And I think that maybe that was the first seed that something mechanical, that you can put into motion. And I remember working with it, trying to just get it to start, trying to understand what that little single cylinder engine is.
Yeah.
And the little carburetor.
Yeah.
And then I got to work, and you could steer the car. That was incredible.
That was the spark.
I think that was the spark. Yeah, I haven't thought about it in a long time. So.
I see. So from that spark, run me through the journey to be where you are today. So how did from Sweden to the United States?
So I from that little basement, I studied design in Sweden, industrial design.
Okay.
And I think the world of sort of form and design was what drew me into making physical objects. It wasn't initially the challenge of solving a problem, like most engineers, they love to solve challenges. For me, it was mainly, how do I make things beautiful? And so I studied industrial design and started designing some furniture, various products and so on. And then I went into digital design and started doing UX, UI. And then one of my friends bought a motorcycle, old Kawasaki Cruiser. I think it was a Kawasaki.
Okay.
And I was looking at this object, and there was something about it. There was this kind of primal nature to it.
Yeah.
It was intimidating, but at the same time, it kind of drew you in.
Yeah.
So I went for a ride, and then like every motorcycle rider is like, oh my God.
That feeling.
That's the first feeling of danger and freedom and all the cliches of riding a bike. And I was just hooked. And then I started looking for a vintage motorcycle on a used motorcycle. And then bought it. And then the next day I just took it apart.
Good.
I didn't even ride it. I'm like, I need to make it mine.
Love it.
And I painted it rattle can black, add like a little star on the side, and like I made a custom bike.
That's it.
So that was kind of my hobby, and then I moved to New York from Sweden.
Okay.
I started a design agency here, designing for clients and so on. But weekends I went to this motorcycle garage in Brooklyn, and it was just a place to tinker. Everyone had a bike. everyone's bike was broken, so everyone was trying to fix different things. So I kind of picked up welding and light fabrication.
I see.
And I bought a uh, Kawasaki KZ400, which was my first bike
Personally.
here in New York.
Okay.
And same thing there, took it apart and then kind of rebuilt it into my image of what I wanted a cafe racer to be. And then, yeah, it kind of kept on going. So I spent a lot of my evenings and weekends at that garage.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. So, you know, this gave us this narrative of where the idea came from, what drew you in. Now is how do you go from the ideation to the product? What has been the development cycle that you use personally? Because there's things that we learn at school as engineers. There's things that we learn in accelerator, incubators. Like you get your chance to go through those phases, and how has been your journey to go from the spark of ideation of to what it is right now?
Good question, man. It's not a linear path at all. It's more like a heartbeat. You know, things are great.
Yep.
Why am I doing this? Life is amazing. I give up, and 8 years in, I think it's kind of the same feeling.
Okay.
You know, most of the time. But yeah, I started at Tarform 2018, and I was kind of tired of software and technology, so I wanted to build something that is physical.
Okay.
And building one-off custom bikes in a garage it was more like a hobby.
Okay.
And at that point, of course, Tesla, it was the promise of the future. This is the blueprint for what electric car should be. So I felt there's a massive opportunity to do something similar, but in a two-wheeled space.
Gotcha.
And my passion for motorcycles and technology and sustainability, it was like this calling. I have to do this, and it was the most ambitious thing I ever could conceive.
I see.
And I had no resources, I had no funding, but I had this garage, and tools.
Makes sense.
So I thought, why not? So it was just me and two guys in the garage for 2 years.
Wow.
Building the first prototype, whatever it took. Like 3D printing, reaching out to different companies and asking them, hey guys, do you want to help us make some parts? We're building this motorcycle of the future, come and help us. And we launched the first prototype 2018.
Okay.
Which was, now when I look at it, I'm like, I can't look at it. It's so janky. You see the duct tape and everything. But it was enough to sort of get people to lean in.
I see.
And we got some features and pre-orders and raised some seed capital.
Okay.
And then began a very long journey to go from a prototype in the garage to a vehicle we can actually ship and put on the road.
Okay, so let's roll back a little bit, and then you mentioned the name of your company is called Tarform. Why Tarform?
It's it's partially my name, Taras form, right? But it's also in Swedish. It's a Swedish verb for taking shape. So it literally means take shape.
Makes sense.
And kind of the idea behind the name is also that everything is in a constant state of evolution. Nothing is ever in its final form or shape. And I felt that it's a concept that applies well for technology because technology is it has a very finite lifespan. We think of technology in terms of obsolescence. But when you buy a vintage motorcycle, there's some long-lasting value to it. Like we want to keep things that are 50 to 60 years old. So my idea was, is it possible for us to take a technological product but instill a timeless quality to it, which means that we need to build it on a modular platform, that it never really becomes obsolete. So you only upgrade the things you need to upgrade, which is the battery pack, the electronics, but the general form and the structure of it should be able to last 50, 60 years. Just when you find an old Norton or a Triumph that's from the 1960s, you take care of it, it's still right. So that was kind of my idea with Tarform.
So how do you do that? Because this is nearly contradictory of everything that we do currently. Like no one think about designing something to last long, even if we say we design something to last long, as engineers, we know that, okay, there is a time that we have to, put this thing away. How do you think about that? How do you do that? How do you design around the idea of, okay, the shape will stay for long, but the parts and the subsystem need to be easily swapped out and replaced?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting to look at the history of manufacturing and production in general. Like, where did this whole thing started? You know, and before sort of the artisan craftsman era, there were no factories.
Yeah.
We were making things to last.
Yep.
There were a few, craftsmen, skilled metal fabricators working on something, and usually that thing would last for generations.
Yeah.
And then the whole industrial age came, right? And then one of the bigger companies, GM,
Yep.
essentially created the term planned obsolescence, where instead of designing things to last, they started designing things to fail.
Yep.
Why? Because they needed to show sales, right? And the same mantra is still prevalent today in pretty much every company.
It is.
From Apple. So the mindset is, let's build something that is good enough and it lasts for a little bit, but not for too long, so we can go and buy more things, right? And I just felt that it's so contradictory, especially if the intention of what we want to do is to build something that's sustainable. So sustainable not just because it's electric, but sustainable in building a thing that you want to keep. And I think the core thing of sustainability is how do you build something that people love? And if you don't throw it out, then you can pass it out to the next generation. That inherently is the most sustainable thing.
I see. So you take the sustainability approach not from the fact that it consumes resources that last, that think about the next generation. You take the sustainability approach on the fact that it can use the resources, but if the resources can also be used by the next generation, then it's the right way.
Absolutely.
I see. Interesting. Okay, let's go back to the seed stage. So you got your first round raised with the junkie prototype, the team of 3, as you mentioned, 2 guys plus you in the garage.
Yep.
How did you raise that pre-seed round?
So our launch party, we kind of made this thing that there's this Brooklyn company building an electric motorcycle. And at that point, electrification was at its high, so much potential and so on. So we got some press. TechCrunch showed up to our launch event, a couple of others. And we got some features, and it kind of started snowball from there,
Makes sense.
And then I started reaching out to all the investors, as you typically do. And one of the first investors, a hardware consumer-based VC, it's like, okay, this looks interesting. They gave us the first check. And at that point, I'm like, this is all we need, compared to the software world.
Yeah.
Hardware is, 10 times more, right?
Yeah.
But at least it created the sense of, oh, wow, there's something there,
I see.
And we were at New Lab just a few blocks from here.
Away. Yeah.
So we got our own space and moved into a new garage, a little bit bigger garage. Then it basically went from, we need to make this thing road legal and structurally sound, so we feel confident that this is something we want to ship. But at the same time, constantly raising capital. So it was going from milestone to milestone, showing that, okay, we got our first certification, we got our first production part, we got our first 20 pre-orders, or whatever the milestone was. It was this constant hunt,
Again, I feel you and I hear you. So from that team of 3, as you mentioned, now how big is your team?
We're 5 people, and then a couple of consultants here and there.
Okay.
Spread out around the world.
Okay. From the 5 internal members, how is it split? Is it business, 2/3 business, 1/3 engineering to 1/3 marketing?
I'd say 2/3 engineering and product, and a third business, fundraising. Marketing, we've barely done any marketing, It's mainly been organic. Social media, us showing up with bikes at different events and like going for test rides.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So we've intentionally kept it small.
Makes sense.
because a lot of companies in the EV space went under, a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And the whole big raise a lot of money, build a factory, open up concept stores. The demand is not there. So most EV motorcycle companies don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my next question. How did you manage to survive 8 years?
Yeah.
Since again, the whole, I'm not saying that the entire like electrification, sustainability space is kind of crumbling down, but you guys seem to stand out. You guys seem to push a product every generation after generation.
Yeah.
What's the secret?
It's pretty basic. It's going back to fundamentals, and I guess I've always had more of a conservative approach to startups. For me, it always felt strange that you would go and build a prototype, raise a lot of money on the pitch deck without really showing any proof of validation. Like that sounded like a high-risk situation. And right when we launched this prototype, there were other companies raising $50, $100 million on a prototype. So I was skeptical. I'm like, is this the best use of capital at that point? Don't you want to show a little bit more proof points before you get confident that this product actually works, and then take on money to scale because the demand is going to be there? So for me, it was more of kind of a resistance to say, let me just prove a little bit more. Let me get a little bit more data points that this is the thing worth building and people actually want it. But at the same time, I was like, oh, it would be great to raise 100 million, then we would have a factory and so on. But I think if we have gone that route, we would probably not be around anymore. So staying lean and just maximizing the available resources
that you have
is one of the reasons we're still here. But also a big part of it is I fundamentally believe intention, why you do something matters. And from sort of my objective view of what was going on in the EV space, a lot of people just wanted to build $1 billion company and sell it. Electrification, here's this big thing, tons of money is flowing, opportunity, clean tech. That intention is short-lived, or that motivation is short-lived. For me, it was never about, let's build $1 billion company. It was more, here's something I can see myself doing for the next 20 years because I love this thing. And it contains every discipline from engineering to design to software to actually getting on the bike and feeling the experience. And I just wanted to build an iconic brand, So what motivates me is during the hard times, is like, how can we make this work despite absence of funding, despite headwinds from the EV space in general, and just stay on the track.
I see. If there's a lot of designers, industrial designer, product designer that I've been able to lucky enough to work with them, or even to pitch our platform, etc. with them. They do have this idea of building their own product or pushing their own, invention, creation, ideation out.
Yeah.
But they also have this fear of not being able or not have what it takes to do that. What would be the answer that would give it to them if there was?
It's a legitimate fear. I think you need to have that fear, right? With a mix of delusion, I think that's also an important ingredient. Because if I knew what I know today about hardware and manufacturing and mobility, I would have, and someone came to me and said, hey, I'm going to start a motorcycle company. I'm going to say, you're crazy. Like, there's no way this is going to work, So knowing a little too much about your specific field might also be a crutch.
I see.
At least that for me, it was the naivete that kept me going. I'm like, of course it's possible. It's got to be possible, So my advice would be, if you really feel a strong pull, and like this is a vision that you must fulfill, and you believe this is a product that needs to exist in today's world, then go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. There is the few questions that's remaining is mainly about manufacturing. So we touched base on the engineering standpoint, we touched base on the design standpoint, on the idea standpoint. It's now manufacturing. You mentioned it multiple times. If you knew what it takes to manufacture a product at scale, your decision would have been, differently.
Yeah.
What does it mean? What does it take? to manufacture something?
So I think as a founder, you obviously need to have deep experience in your discipline, whether you're a hardware engineer, industrial designer, software engineer, which is good, focus on that. But at the same time, you need to go wide. And what I've seen a lot of hardware companies do, they over-optimize the product and they forget about all the other things, which is fundraising and business and supply chain. And for me, I started there. I'm like, let me just build the most amazing and beautiful product, right? So the first bike, the Luna, the bill of materials was $50,000 because I was not willing to compromise.
Makes sense.
And I had no idea what design for manufacturing meant or design for assembly.
Yeah.
I just built a sculpture. I'm like, it turns out to be this costly, right?
Yeah.
And then begin a very long journey to understand how do I keep the integrity of the product, but also make it affordable.
Yeah.
So going to factories, understanding how machines operate. How do you design a part, not just to look pretty, but also design it to fit with other parts and reduce costs, and that took me years, and initially it was like, someone else should deal with this. But I felt this was the only way for me to get deep experience, expertise in understanding what I'm building. I need to understand every line item on my bill of materials. I need to understand every cost associated to it. I need to go and visit the factories. I need to talk to the people operating the machines. I need to understand what are these machines, And as I began sort of mapping out the whole ecosystem, it just informed so much of my decision making that led to our second bike.
Makes sense.
Where we could reduce, 2/3 of our bill of materials while still keeping the quality and sort of the spirit of the first product.
I see. There's this question of how do you get manufacturers, or even how do you get in the radar of the manufacturers?
Yeah.
We are in New York. I'm not saying that New York is not a great place to manufacture something at scale, but New York is also not known to be, Dallas, Texas, or Stanford, etc. So how do you do that? How did you get in front of manufacturers? As you mentioned, to have this experience, did you walk through manufacturing floors, workshop, etc.? How did you do that?
Just started reaching out to people, and we kind of were fortunate that an electric motorcycle is kind of a sexy thing. So when we reach out, I'm like, we're building this. It was fairly easy to get a lot of manufacturers and companies excited about the product because they all want to use something that people understand as a reference. So they go and make cogs for a machine that no one ever sees.
Yeah.
So I use that to our advantage to say, hey, help us develop this because it's going to go into this motorcycle.
Makes sense.
Which also made it a little bit easier for us to negotiate on MOQs, because we build in low volume.
I see.
Usually when you go and ask a manufacturer, they're like, MOQ 500 or 1,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need 10. Like, we're not even going to start our machine for 10 units, But I found those that were willing to do that.
How? Where did you find them? Because that's, for me, that's...
reaching out, going to trade shows, visiting factories upstate, going to Asia. And also, a lot of them are willing to take a risk on a startup because they see the potential.
The great return.
And I told them, we're starting small, but our vision is big. So if you guys do a good job, happy to keep you as we scale.
I
So
see.
a lot of them were willing to sort of dedicate the resources to low volume, even if they didn't make any money on parts.
Yeah. And those are US-based manufacturers or
all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah, we have a global supply chain, so parts are
how you guys manage
everywhere.
the connection between suppliers and making sure that all of the parts arrive, especially on time for you to put the part together.
But parts arrive rarely on time, and in the beginning, as we were sourcing suppliers, you really never know what you're gonna get, right? That moment you open up the box and you hold your breath, like, I hope the part came out the way I designed it.
Yeah.
And then it's not.
It's most of the time.
So you go back to the supplier, and you start this whole dance. Communication-wise, all the standard channels, WhatsApp, email, WeChat. Whatever, whatever you need, right? The more mistakes you make, the more you understand the consequences of those mistakes. And a lot of it is just rush. and then you usually get back what you put out.
What you put out. Yeah.
So for me, documentation became very important.
I see.
Quality standards, really communicating with suppliers like this is what we want, because you spend from the moment you send out a file until you get a part maybe 3 months.
Yep.
And then you need to build the week
Yep.
after, and then the part doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit. So how do we do that? So this is great. This is great. Because that's my backyard. Now I feel comfortable now. How do you make sure that, first of all, you seems like you produce by batch. You don't do as it comes. You order in bulk. It arrive. You put everything together, and then you sell the batch. So,
Right.
what happens if a part arrive and it doesn't fit?
You either have to pay a lot of money to have the part remake with the local supplier that I've done many times,
Okay.
where literally, jump in a car and drive in New Jersey. I'm like, I'll pay whatever it takes to. I need this part by tomorrow, and that still happens often. Luckily, less of that. It was way more before.
Yeah.
Or you pay, rush fees to have them remake things. But sometimes it's just a thing that there's nothing you can do about it.
So how did you get better at that then? It seems like, as you mentioned, documentation, quality standard, all of these keywords that we heard every time. But how did you implement it in your company?
Yeah. Again, taking time, reviewing parts before you send them out. But also very basic human things is ask the supplier, what other similar parts have you done before?
Makes sense.
Show me photos. So
Makes sense.
I'm a big believer in photos.
It works.
Send me a photo of every part before you put it in the box. And you'd be surprised how few companies ask for photos before the box arrives in your office.
I like it. I like it.
And usually they send you grainy, blurry photos. No, I want high definition photos of this specific M8 tap.
Wow. This is
Because it costs you nothing to say
actually
cross over email versus you're holding the part and you're calling the suppliers like, what the hell? What did you send me?
I have a small story about that. I was building a laundry machine, a robotic laundry machine, and one of our quality checklists that I made was literally, as you mentioned, in Excel sheet with all of the names of the parts, and then there's a checkbox there with all of the definition and the image that they have to put on top of that.
Yeah.
So literally a checkbox, like, okay, go through this image. This is like my. Of course, you have the drawing. Of course, you made it a battery drawing, but before shipping this thing, take a caliper, measure everything one by one, then check this box.
Exactly.
If you sign this paper and then arrive to me and then it doesn't match, I don't care. I'm not paying for that part.
Yes.
So I did actually, and that related, and I definitely understand it. Those mistakes, again, they are costly. So when you go through once, you find a way to.
It's a painful lesson.
Hey.
Yeah.
The last question that I have is, do you have any fun story like this that you want to share with us that was about to, or did define, or about to break your company? What was that?
Oh man, a lot of those moments where it was literally, I guess one of the most challenging moments. I went to Asia to visit factories and then fundraise.
Okay.
And my idea was to find a strategic investor, someone that had manufacturing capabilities and could basically, help us to get to where we need. While we do all the design, engineering, and assembly, we tap into the muscles of a big OEM company.
Yeah.
So we had negotiations and eventually got a term sheet for good amount. It was finally, I'm like, now I can start building a company, right?
Yeah.
And then term sheet signed, waiting. This is December. We're pretty much like at the end of our runway, and we get an email. They're like, "Oh, we chose to go a different direction."
Right.
I'm like, okay, good. And they spent 3-4 days here at our shop, doing audit, following us, checking if things are real. So I thought we had this one. And at that point, I had a team of 10 people. So I basically had to let everyone go, a few days before Christmas. I'm like, sorry guys, we're out of money. Like, this is something And then January 1st, I came into the space, sitting completely by myself in a 4,500 square feet
In the dark.
facility. I'm like, there's absolutely no way out of this. Like, what can I do? You know. And I spent a week like thinking, what's the next move? Do I give up? And I'm like, no, I'm not ready to give up. And I managed to convince some of our existing investors to give me a little bridge. I rehired one engineer, and then spent a couple of months kind of recalibrating. Rehired another one, and then slowly crawled out of that specific moment. And now we just launched our second bike, the Vero, which still in launch mode.
Yep.
So super excited about what the future holds.
Hey, this is real. I tend to say that those are the lessons that actually shape us. So
100%.
we want to give you a chance to introduce those products now.
Yeah.
Share about them. How much you have in catalog? What is the people that you guys targeting? What's the price tag around it? So yeah.
Sure, let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
Let's go.